How you doing? This is James Diboe on Discovering on Big Condo Radio. We're here to discover new things, and we've got a special guest in the building, Raz Congo. How you doing, Raz?
Respect, James. I'm well.
That's good anyway, you know.
Jobless.
It's great to have you anyway, you know. It's been, I've been awaiting, you know. So anyway, you deal with a lot of mental health.
Mm-hmm.
You're a musician. I've heard some of your music. It's great. You're also a world traveler like myself,
Yes.
you know. And also you have a great knowledge on African history. But we're going to touch first on the mental health.
Yes.
If you want to elaborate on that.
Well, first and foremost, I'd just like to say it's a pleasure to be here, James. Thanks for the invite. Also, Chase, thank you very much for providing the platform.
I appreciate it.
It's very nice to be here. And so basically, we all grew up. Patrick here is my longtime friend. We all grew up. We know your family and everything. We grew up in Liverpool. So when you're looking at health, we were all very health conscious from a very early age because good natural food was cooked in our homes along with the information, the culture, the roots of who we are, our identity. So naturally, when I left Liverpool at a certain age, I went down to London when I was about 18, 19, started working with young people to begin with. So I was on an agency, right?
Yeah.
I was getting good money, the work was coming in, but then all of a sudden the work dried up a little bit. And every time I called the agency, they said, we've got a mental health facility. And I was like, no, because of stigma, James.
Okay.
I had stigma of mental health at one time, you know. So they kept on saying you should go to this mental health. They've got loads of mental health, but no children places, right? So I was like, oh, no, because I was thinking, you know, images of Jack Nicholson in The Shining chopping down jaws. So after a while, 2-3 weeks, there was just like small hours, and I was like, it was a matter of survival now. So then I said, okay, I picked up the phone, got in touch, and they gave me the address. I started working. They liked me so much, they gave me three months straight away, and they would review it. And I was working with some lovely people in those days, right? A lot of the care homes, it was just coming in from like the Care in the Community Act. That was about 1989 to 1991. So like in the old times, a lot of these big hospitals were all on the corners of cities. They were like communities within themselves. Some of them looked like Frankenstein's castle or Count Dracula's castle, all walls around them, basically filled in with lots of people who were suffering, yeah? And this model of Victorian mental health care, if you could call it mental health care, was still prevalent in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And we have to remember, you know, in those days, people were put into hospital because they were victims of racism and they were a bit angry and frustrated and they were venting their frustration in their cultural competent manner. Or women who had children out of wedlock, young women, especially if they had a child to a black man, that was a problem. So I got into the health. I suddenly realized I was quite good at this because the biggest thing for me was, I'm not a trained doctor. I was just, at the time, I was just a mental health worker. But I had a very good way of engaging with people. So I was able to talk to people. People felt empowered to talk to me. We were able to de-escalate any problems. And we were able to, like, you know, construct a good vibration, a good atmosphere that lasted. And then I was offered to do training in dual diagnosis, which is drugs and alcohol as well. So I took the training, got a diploma in it. So that gave me more of a vantage point, more of a, what's the word I'm looking for now? More of a value within the National Health Service. So I started working as a dual diagnosis worker. And that's mainly, you know, working with people who've got mental health problems. They may be on a substance, they may be drinking a lot of alcohol, they may be on a substance and alcohol as well. So it's just about really working with them to reduce the harm to themselves, looking at the lifestyle, helping them to comply with medical regimen, and also, you know, employment, looking at your, you know, your aspirations, what you want to be, trying to open up the mind so that they can think about themselves and take some responsibility, referrals to rehab placements, etc., and so forth. And then obviously, you know, the mental health is interesting because in the West, they tend to separate health. They separate mental health from physical health, from spiritual health.
Yeah.
And in the where we come from, in the motherland, right? Health is health. You know, the component for health is heal, TH. Wellness, they say wellness. Well, we are 70% water, so where you put the water's in the well. So
it.
if we think good about ourselves, we think good about our families, our friends, even our peers and society, that can have a tremendous effect on our well-being. It can promote a positive well-being. If for whatever reason, and we're not being judgmental here, because many people have suffered experiences. You know, life is all about experiences and how you cope with them. Some people have been through horrendous journeys. Some of those people have responded, because what will make one man can break another man. But it's all about what gave these people the inspiration to conquer the adversities they faced. It's got to be a positive mindset, or they've been fortunate to meet people and have people in their life who were able to give them some of that positive mindset, you know.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, Raz. I had two guests on yesterday, Misha Estridge and also Alicia Faliak. And
Yes.
one of them deals with the Shakti Reiki.
Yes,
Yeah.
Reiki, yes.
Yeah, so, and we were talking yesterday, and I was mentioning about, like, it's like if you feel sick or if you think sick, and, like, it's like the negative, you know, I'm just talking about taking the negative
Yes.
and make it positive.
Yes, yes.
Because if you're thinking, like, negative all the time, then
Absolutely.
you're drawing in that energy, like
Absolutely.
you were saying before.
I totally agree.
You know.
And the thing is, James, the mind is so positive, right? So powerful that I wouldn't even say believe, I know, because energy can't die. I'm not a scientist or anything like, but I know energy cannot die.
Yeah.
And I know I existed before I was born into this physical body. And I know I'm going to exist and live after this physical body.
Definitely relate to you on a
Right.
spiritual level, definitely,
Well,
totally.
This is reality, brother.
Reality, yeah.
Okay. So basically, right, when you bear that in mind, right, health is all encompassing. Right? It's how we deal with each other. We have to deal with each other in a healthy manner. We have to have manners. We have to have respect. We don't want to give things to people that is going to damage them. We only want to give things to people that is going to uplift them.
That's right.
And raise them up to a consciousness, you know. So, first of all, we have to get things right in the community of self. And once we're always going to learn. No one's ever perfect, but once we get things right in the community of self, we can impact that on our local community, on our wider community. So, like, one of the biggest things that I've experienced, or I've had the pleasure, right, of being involved with, was about 20 years ago. I was working in Camden and Islington, and I left. I used to work in a day centre. It was a bit too much after a while, because I needed a new challenge. I was there for 6 years, right? So I looked in the Voice, excuse me, I looked in the Voice newspaper, and there was a job going in a cultural specific outreach team, assertive outreach team for young people, black people between 16 to 25 who had mental health issues. And we gravitated towards that. We got the job, and it was one of the best things in my life in terms of, like, equipping me, working with people, and having my understanding and my experience, being able to make a powerful impact. Because we're talking about mental health. We're talking about health, but coming back to mental health, we live in a racist society where basically, right, if any of us had a little problem or we got stressed, straight away, they may say, that's no disrespect, Joe, but they may say to us, oh, he's schizophrenic. Oh, I believe it's schizophrenic. Oh, we'll put him on this amount of medication, and we end up on an unfair diagnosis. We end up on a trailer load of medication, and they may see Joe here, our lovely young assistant here. They may see Joe, and he's manifesting in the same issues, and they may say, oh, he just needs some talking therapy. I'll give him a little something for his mood so it can uplift him. So we're dealing in an unfair society, and unfortunately, these things, they creep over and spill over to all aspects. So the time I had with this cultural specific service, it was called Antenna Outreach, was one of the best things I've ever done, because I was able not just to champion on people's behalf, we were able to champion the system more, because we were created to champion the system.
Yeah.
This whole outreach team was created because parents, right, and carers and family members and friends in the community of Tottenham, North London, were basically saying, we don't trust mental health services. It's not that we're not engaging with mental health services. Mental health services aren't engaging with us. So we were able to try to fill the gap, and I think we did a very good job at doing that.
Well, that's interesting, that, because even from sometimes the ancient world is not too much different than the new world. It's only people who've changed it. But if you look at what the ancient people will say we just need food, clothing, security,
Yes.
safety, and shelter.
Absolutely.
And now someone can think, well, how do we deal with this on a modern day basis? And we've got we'll control your economics, control
Excellent.
your culture, and also control your society.
Absolutely,
You know, that's
absolutely. James, just before we move on, there was a gentleman, right, in the 50s, 40s or 50s called Maslow, a psychologist.
Yeah.
And he did exactly the same thing that you said. He called it, check this out, he called it the pyramid of needs, okay? And basically it was like shelter, food, relationships, basic things in life. If we've got that right, you know, because a man could have like, it's not money that's going to save us. Money can help us. Money's a commodity, but
Yeah.
we have to have that well-being and that balance in our life.
We have to control the economics. That's
Absolutely.
definitely. Yeah.
So he's calling it the pyramid of needs. I don't think that is accidental. Like I've listened to, me and Patrick talk all the time through the years. I've listened, me and you have talked. I've
Yeah.
looked at the podcast. We've had our identity, our resources, our everything stolen from us. We're operating on a smidgen of self-knowledge, and we're trying our best to recuperate that. You know what I mean? Because basically, a lot of these ideals that have been repackaged are the ones that were taken from us, or in many ways, we actually gave this knowledge to the world. We weren't looking to promote or ego. There was nothing about that. It was about promoting well-being and being at one with nature.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely related to nature there. You know what I mean? I visited a lot of tribes around the world and stuff, and like, I always look for what's similar than what's different.
Absolutely.
Because when we look for what's different, that's when you automatically can see a divide. What I see in the ancient world, what they all seem to say is they see it's nature, as in like not the word God. You know, it's and you understand it's like this duality.
Yes.
And we are the same. We have the ability to be good or bad. It's
Yes,
in us.
absolutely.
Our demons can be pushed.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, which side do you want to lean more to? The positive
I totally
or the
agree.
negative?
I totally agree. And, just saying, right, we're dealing with spirituality, but at the same time, we don't want to get this confused.
Yeah.
We have religious friends.
Yeah.
We have religious ideas. And we wouldn't disrespect anybody. You know, we have to realize, even in Christianity, you have like over 120 versions of the Bible, umpteen denominations.
Yeah.
You know, so in Islam, we respect everything, but at the same time, we respect ourselves too.
Yeah.
And we have to share, because fair exchange is no robbery. So I have friends who are Muslim, friends who are Christian, and we enjoy each other's company, and we're able to talk, and we're able to, respect each other and move forward.
You know what? Like, obviously, like you say, I give the respect to anyone's beliefs and that. But I felt like with religion, it can take you like 10,000 miles. But I felt like with spirituality,
Yeah.
it's just unlimited, infinity.
Well, there lies the issue.
Yeah.
Religion has been used as a weapon against us.
Yeah.
And we can see that historically. We probably may not be able to cover that in this podcast because we're on a limited time.
Of course.
But religion is being used as a weapon against us. And the thing is, a lot of these ideals have actually come from Mother Africa. And they've been seen as elements of nature, elements of well-being, elements of prosperity. And they've been given physical, historical timelines, and even like European ideals and all these type of things, and that's been pushed back on us in Africa. 'Cause I live in Africa. I live in Rwanda.
Yeah.
I lived in Ethiopia, and
Motherland.
Ethiopia is probably one of the best models to talk about in terms of religion, because, as we know, it's a very strong point for Christianity. It's been evidenced that Christianity was born there before the Council of the Nicaea, 325 AD.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So it's always had a love for the Christianity ideals, but also Islam, right? So Islam and Christianity live side by side. People intermarry. There's not a problem. The kids are, fine with everything. And even when the Prophet Muhammad was establishing Islam and there was issues in that part of the world, he went to Ethiopia. He told people, go to Ethiopia. There's a safe haven for you there. The people went to Ethiopia. They were protected. Bilal was the first imam. He was an Ethiopian.
Black man.
Yeah. black man, Ethiopian. So
Also, Muhammad, it was his grandmother.
absolutely,
Supposed to be from Ethiopia.
yeah.
Or Abyssinia, do you want to call it? Whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
James. I mean, so like we're not on we're not looking at no supremacy. What we're looking for is equity, equality, justice.
Facts.
And the only way we're going to get that, maybe not with, I'm not saying get an M16 or an AK-49. I'm saying we need to be armed with knowledge of self, knowledge of our own history in our own context, you know?
Most definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, you're a musician as well. I've listened to some of your music.
Yeah.
Like, how old was you young when you got into your music?
I was young when I was a child. When I was a little boy, I used to stick on a hat and imitate U-Roy, Prince Jasbo and I-Roy. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, because like we always grew up around music, you know, growing up. Music has always been important to us. Even, you know, the original music is the heartbeat, the beat in your chest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're surrounded. We've got the heartbeat, we've got the eardrums.
Real music.
So we love the music, and the music was, especially in our time growing up, for example, we loved soul music, we loved the funk, we loved jazz, we loved reggae. Maybe we more identified with reggae because of the type of tenets it was promoting at the time, especially roots music. So a lot of the things that I find myself pursuing in my life right now, a lot of it came because of the artist and the music and the producers and the distributors of this great artistry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It really influenced me.
Also, as well, you know, there's something I can really relate to from when I first came on the Big Congo radio.
Yes.
And it's obviously being a world traveller.
Yes.
And it's not just like you're the world traveller, just like myself. I really relate to you moving around this planet spiritually.
Yes. Well, Big Condo, got to big up Big Condo. Yeah?
Yeah.
Big Condo is a beautiful innovation here. It's nice to really, for me, it's a pleasure for me to be a part of it right now.
You watched it all, isn't it?
But, you know, I got this opportunity because you asked me about the music, right? So I got this opportunity where basically, you know, we've done a lot of traveling and whatnot, right? So I'd always gone to America, right, from a young guy, but I was always fixed on the East Coast. I didn't really know anybody on the West Coast. And this was when the beef between the East Coast and the West Coast was going on, you know what I mean?
Whoa.
So I was more like New York, Harlem, Brooklyn, Bronx, Boston, Philadelphia.
I do prefer the East Coast music, just, you know, but I like both.
I like both, bro.
But East Coast is for me.
But what happened with me, I was like, I want to go to California, but I didn't know anybody. So one time, I just basically said, okay, just go. And, you know, you have to go, be there to know people, to meet people. And I went. And lo and behold, man, I met some real good people, man.
I like California.
Real good people who, because New York can be a little ratty sometimes, you know. I remember like being in the subway and I was asking a woman a question and she's like saying, look at the goddamn map. So there's this New York, people are very impatient in New York. 12 to 15 million people, everybody's got no time for that, you know. Whereas I found Los Angeles and California to be very, very calm, very focused on the artistry, paintings, you know what I mean? Music, singing, poetry. I felt like a beatnik, far out, man. I was like in my habitat. So I was there a couple of days. I was in a hotel a couple of days, and I was looking for a Trinidadian brethren of mine, one Rasta man who used to live in New York called Jah Faith, and it was on Fairfax Boulevard. He had a shop with another brother that was selling African artifacts and whatnot, right? And this was in a place called Little Ethiopia, because in LA you've got all these little areas, and it could be Little Armenia, Little Italy, Little China, right? So it's predominantly Ethiopian people and Eritrean people living there. With all the restaurants, coffee shops, blah, blah, blah. So I'm looking for this brother, and it was 2020, right? That was the address, 2020, but it was West Fairfax, right? I didn't see the W. I didn't even know what the W meant. So I went to a different end of the street. And, you know, in America, you know, some of them streets is like they'll go on forever if you're not careful, you know. So I went to the top end, which was closer to Santa Monica Boulevard. And it was some white dudes, you know, like surfer-looking guys, you know what I mean? And I'm like talking to them, I'm looking for this place. And they said, yeah, it's the other end, you need to go, blah, blah. And we just hit it off. And I heard some reggae music playing and smelled some nice aromatic flavors coming from there, you know. So I said, okay. And he goes, have you got a minute? I said, yeah, man. So I ended up staying there chilling out with the brother and spit a few things on, because he had this little studio, not too dissimilar to this. And he said he wanted to work with me. And everything was cool. And he said, where are you staying? I said, I'm staying black. He goes, come and stay by me. And I was getting a little bit worried because I'm not really, I wasn't too au fait. And I know about Hollywood. This was West Hollywood, by the way. And I'm thinking, I hope this guy doesn't start stroking my leg or trying to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he was coming divine. He was coming to me divine. And usually, sometimes I'm thinking people only want something. People want no such thing as a free lunch. Anyway, everything was fine. He had his girlfriend. And he gave me his flat. And I'm in his flat for like 3-4 weeks, and I'm just living there, nice, making my food. Everything's cool. Then he was involved with a dub club, and that was in a place called the Echoplex. So that used to play every Wednesday and the Saturday, and a lot of the time, like twice a month, they'd have big artists from Jamaica come over and local artists. So I was in my element there, getting paid a little something, doing like voiceovers, or what's that one you call now? Not dub plates, shout outs and things like that,
Yeah.
And doing like specials and things like that. So everything was running well.
Well, you know what? Because we got like about 10 something left. So
Yeah.
we want to move into, because you've been a lot of places.
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
you tell me,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
South America you've been,
Yeah, yeah,
isn't it? You've
yeah.
been into Australia, these places.
Just coming to that, right? So I'm gonna be very quick
Yeah.
now because I'm aware of the time. I'm aware of the time. That's what they say in psychology, I'm aware of the time. You've
Yeah.
got like 3 minutes left. But anyway, when I was there, I met another guy who his brother's a big Hollywood producer, right? So I met this other guy. The guy's Sam Spiegel, and he had his own label and everything, right? So I cut a few tunes for him. He liked them, and he was working with this guy from South America, from Brazil, called Zagon. So he was South America, he was North America. They called themselves NASA, right? And a tour happened. They did an album. I was on the album, and they did a tour, and they invited me on the tour. So I ended up doing, I think, 12 sessions, dates in North America, in America and Canada, and South America as well. But I'd already visited a lot of, definitely Brazil and places like that. But these guys brought me into like Belize. They brought me into like Mexico, also Colombia and all these other places.
Nice.
Yeah, Chile. You know what I mean? So I didn't have enough time to really get into the indigenous levels, because we were just there doing a tour, and like you could be there for like 2 days, do 2 shows, 3 days.
Oh, you've got to, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that led on, because that led on to my, cause I was going, like the first time I went anywhere, it was to Jamaica.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
And I was about 18. Knew 1 or 2 people there, but I stayed there for 10 weeks I was there for. And I just like felt in my environment, Could have got a little bit scary at sometimes when you're like in certain garrisons and that. But I was a little bit protected, So I toured the Caribbean and everything. The first time I ever went to Africa was 1990, and that was to Egypt. And I don't know, I'd been reading a few books on Egypt. One was by a chap called Gerald Massey. He was actually, about Gerald Massey.
Definitely.
This guy was like from over 120 years ago, wrote many interesting books.
He's the one who said about Stonehenge was built by a
Yes,
black man called
yeah.
Maori.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
This is where the Moors come from.
Yeah.
And this is why we call that land in Yorkshire the Yorkshire Moors. You
Yeah.
have more riches, or more riches, as
That's
I like
it.
to say.
Mm.
Right? So we've got to unveil our own history, because like Patrick was saying earlier, in order to tell the lie, you have to be aware of the truth, so you can hide the lie. And that's what we've been the victims of.
Most definitely.
That's why I'm walking around with, my so-called birth name is Marvin Nichols, but that's not my name. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, I was happy because I was mentioning your name to some people who knew you, and some people going, who's that? And then obviously when they realised, they said, why is it changed? I said, you know what? I'm happy he's done that because I can like relate to you 100%.
Yeah,
I mean, my last name's a Nigerian
Yes,
name, which I'm fortunate to have.
It's a proud name as well,
At the end of the day, it's a meaning.
Yes.
You have meaning to the names.
It means something, and if you're walking around with, for example, if you go to a supermarket, and you want to buy broccoli, you can't find it in a bag marked carrots. You understand?
It's like that's why everyone who comes on the show, you know, the highlight of the show is always the importance of African history from a positive level. We get told the stereotype, the negativity.
Yes.
We only were slaves.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
You know, you know how it is, isn't it?
Well, this is why the traveling for me was so important, and I've traveled a lot of places.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm very interested in Africa as a whole, but I was fortunate enough to go to Australia a couple of times, New Zealand,
Oh yeah.
India. When I was in India, people were coming to me speaking in Punjabi. You understand? They were like talking. I was like, what? And they just took me as a Punjabi man.
You got Dravidians and everyone.
Yeah.
You must have seen different kinds of people in India.
Some dark people. Listen, some people in India, right, who are close to the border of China, and they look like Chinese.
Northeast.
And you have people that look. You'll have people that will look like. But Ethiopia, they'll not look like. They are Ethiopians, you know what I mean?
Cushites went in there.
Yeah, absolutely. India's only. It's actually called Bharat. It's only the British called it India because they were saying all life is indigenous to this land.
Well, Herodotus,
which wasn't the case.
When he was mentioning Herodotus, he was mentioning about Africa having two civilizations, and he was explaining the tighter-haired one in Africa and the ones with the looser hair in India.
Absolutely.
Dravidians, if you want to call them.
Yeah.
Different names.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Because there's certain empires, right, that you know, our understanding of geography is very much, you know, clouded. That's why I mean, Europe isn't a continent. Europe's a part of Asia. If anything, it's Eurasia.
Yeah.
Right? And they shrink Africa and make Africa look smaller than what it is. So there's an agenda going on, as we know. Right? So basically, brother, I was like very interested in Africa. I've spent time in South Africa. I lived there. I've traveled around. But the most important, I would say, because time is limited, I lived in Ethiopia for 3 years. Ethiopia's got like about 83 different tribes, although the main ones are the Oromo, Amhara, and you have other little ones. You have small ones like Gujari, you know what I mean, Hama. The Hama people look like Sudanese. In actual fact, it was a part of Sudan, and I think Emperor Menelik took some of that land to expand Ethiopia. So it's a big story, but you can see the different cultures. Ethiopia is one land, very diverse land, you know, we're dealing with topography, mountains, valleys, green grasses, lakes, and it's also the same with the people and the wildlife and, you know what I mean, the birds and everything. And you have some tribes down in the south in a place called Arbaminch and beyond these places, and they have the, you know, the things in the lips, the plates in the lips, all the decorations, tribal markings. And for example, if somebody is going to get married, right, it's like the woman will have many suitors. So there might be 10 young guys who are interested in the hand, and in order to get that hand, right, it's about, you got to jump maybe whoever jumps the most cows. So there might be like, you know, like Evel Knievel.
Yeah.
There might be like 12, 14 cows lined up, and you jump, and the one that's one little bow, like string in your bow, and then they have these like stick fights, which to other people who don't know it, they might think that's a bit brutal. But you know, there's brutaler things going on in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Serious stick fights, and that's another thing that proves, like the Olympics, you know.
Yeah.
Right. And also like wrestling and things like that. You know what I mean? It was very interesting. But you know, like there's always the patriarch of the people is very important. You know, the original medicine man. They'll know everything about medicine. We're under attack because a lot of these older people in Africa are becoming less and less because people are forced to leave from the rural regions to go to the urban places for survival. So we need to document these knowledges, and we need to keep them readily available.
See, this is why I always try to search for the roots of cultures all the time.
Yeah.
And some places I've been to, even in West Africa, where they've said, oh, just concentrate on the religion, like the new modern religions.
Yes.
It's like there was a man selling masks when I was staying in Gambia, and I said, I don't want that mask. I want the Dogon.
Yes, the Dogon.
Then he looked at me, James, how do you know about the Dogon?
Yeah.
You know, like, and it just brings you closer to these people.
It brings you closer,
you know,
and like it's also interesting as well how, you know, anthropologists or historians or whatever may use the word primitive, and
Yeah.
we may think, oh, primitive means basic or whatever, but really it just means first, the original. Okay,
Oral history is more reliable.
you know what I mean? So basically, right, you are the original people, and that means that everything you have was the original, right? So in terms of like what makes us civilized, you know what I mean? What makes us civilized? Unity, community, farming, distribution of food. Everybody must be fed. Yeah, all these type of things. That's what makes us want to be civilized, you know? Yeah. So it's very important, you know?
Well, I'll tell you what, though, I've learned a lot off you also, and like also, it's I remember you telling me all around Africa you've been and stuff like.
Yeah.
Which was your favourite place in Africa?
I've been fortunate, you know. I've really been fortunate, and I don't really think I have a favourite place as such. I mean, at the moment, right, I'm in Rwanda. Rwanda's got a lot of benefits going for it, a lot of pros. I mean, there's pros and cons to every society. Rwanda's a small country in terms of Africa. It's got about 12, 13 million people living there. It's landlocked between like Tanzania, the Congo, Burundi, and Uganda and Kenya, right? But it's got some good leadership. You know, Paul Kagame is the president. The government's been quite good. People will say bad things about him, but he's not dealing with democracy. Whatever democracy is supposed to be. You understand, bro? Yeah, so he's dealing with like, I mean, the country got itself in, you know about the Houthi and the Tutsis.
Oh, the
Hutu and the Tutsis.
Yeah.
Basically, there was a major breakdown, right? We have to take our responsibility. A lot of it was manipulated by the Belgian rule, but we have to take our responsibility. It was us chopping up each other and killing each other. So at the end of the day, we can talk about colonialism, imperialism, which basically is terrorism. And we've got to start thinking for ourselves, you know. We have to be able to read between the lines, because we're not going to be told the truth from these big, powerful media outlets.
Definitely
you know
not. There's a lot of Bantus, if you noticed, all over Africa.
Yes.
And I'm not mentioning that to you because you've been a lot of places. I've seen in Kenya, Madagascar, and also with Rwanda. You must have Bantu people there.
They're called the Batwa.
Batwa.
Yeah.
Different dialect, but it's still Bantu, isn't it? You know?
Basically, brother, for me, I think these are the original people.
I'm with that too, you know.
I think they're the original people. I think if you look at, like, you know, you look at the bones, Professor Leakey, Robbie Leakey, and his people was supposed to have discovered the bones, and they called her Lucy. Well, they're finding a lot of these bones all over Africa, all over the world, but predominantly in Africa as the oldest bones. Interestingly enough, they all seem to be female. They don't find it. I don't know if we were reproducing or someone's tampered with her. I don't know, but they all seem to be women. But like Patrick was saying, there's a lot of still buried antiquities all over. Not just our bones, our schools, our libraries. And we've been under attack where we've had our libraries and universities burnt down.
Yeah.
And everything, you know, and that knowledge is being stolen. And it's probably under Westminster Abbey and under the Vatican and all these places, because you look at the world, you see this needle, this Egyptian, the obelisk.
Oh, yeah.
And they've taken them out of Egypt, put them in London, they're in Paris, they're in Washington. Well, why is that?
They stole our knowledge and tried to watered it down, basically, you
Absolutely.
know. That's it.
Absolutely, brother.
You know what, though, Raz, though? It's been a great interview today. And it's like you say, we're discovering new things. And I'm discovering a lot of new things, what you're talking about, too, you know.
Yeah.
We're coming to the end of the show.
Yes.
If you want to drop
I'd
just
like to say, right, I really respect what you're all doing. Patrick's my long-time brethren, as you know. Respect everything you're doing, James, Chase, everything.
Yeah.
But I don't even, like you say, we don't say Black history. We just say, this is our story. You know, this is our story. Now, this story belongs to all humanity.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, right, we just want to be able to educate. It's very important to educate the younger people, because they're the men and women of tomorrow.
Yeah.
But even our peers who we may be rubbing shoulders with at work or wherever, we need to, you know, the only way we're going to remove the ignorance or the arrogance is to really get that information out to them. Very timely as well. A few little crumbs here and there.
With the first people coming out of Africa, I'm just going to go quick. The first people coming out of Africa, so the first cultures, the first spirituality, the first of a lot of things. Now, obviously, when people have gone different parts of the world, they're going to develop their own ways, especially when, if you believe the Ice Age, I'm like, with, you know, some people believe there's a flood, some people believe there's an ice age.
Absolutely.
Doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
But because life began in Africa.
Yeah.
And I think everybody, no matter where you are in the world, you have to embrace African culture.
Yeah.
And before that, go into the spirit world.
Well, you're faced with African culture everywhere, even if it's redefined. Not that you can redefine it, but you know, repackaged and sold as something else. We know it's originally African, and we give thanks. But what we need to do is try our best, right, to let the young people, right, especially everyone, but especially the young people, to have a little bit more information about themselves, and more pride, more like, you know, it's not just about slavery as such. Slavery is important, and it's important to document everything about slavery, right?
Definitely.
But we need to go further as well.
Yeah.
And we need to celebrate our development and our enlightenment.
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you know what, Raz, anyway, thank you very much for coming anyway. And we're discovering new things.
Thank you, brother.
You know, on the Big Congo Radio.
Yes,
and you know what, thank you very much.
Thank you, James.
Bless
Thank you, Chase. Me now watch no face, but me know me place.
Peace.